Wonderful.
Perfect.
Okay, everyone. My name's Bree. Hopefully by now you know who I am because it's not the first time I'm lecturing. Today we are going to be doing classes and objects, right? I know we did a bunch on Thursday, if I recall correctly. We are going to learn a lot more about them today because, as you've heard by now, Java is an object-oriented programming language. So you cannot do Java without objects, and you cannot do Java without classes. It is the main guts of Java. Okay, so announcements. I don't think there are any
teaching
announcements.
yourself Java. Sorry, that was a joke. Sorry.
Oh, okay. There are no announcements today. Now we're going to talk about Null because there were some questions about Null that I was informed about. I don't actually know what the questions are, but we are going to talk about, does Null take up space? So you can set string, which is an object of my string, to Null. You can set an integer of my number to Null, but a primitive, so a lowercase string or a char cannot be set to Null. Primitive data types cannot be set to Null, and that's because it's an absence of a value. It means it does not exist. So it's going to take up, so those two take up that space. So the my string and the my number take up &01, null, and then that takes about 8 to 16 bytes. Now null itself is the absence of the value, so it is taking up space. Did we have questions on that? I know I kind of went fast there, but I also was not 100% sure what the original question was, so. Okay, moving on. Have we seen this before? Where have we seen this before? This is interactive. Y'all can go ahead and answer if you know. Like, which one of these would it be? Would it be a constructor, a method, or a class variable?
A class variable?
Correct. It is. It is a property. So it is a class variable property, and we're going to do a few more of these questions as we go. There we go. Okay, now we've got another one. Public void bark. What is this?
A method.
That is also correct. It is a method, right? So these are things that we know so far. Now we've got another one. What is this one?
Is that a method?
That's a method.
Constructor.
Yep, it is a method. Nope, it's a method. Method is correct on that one. What about this one?
Constructor.
Yep, that would be a constructor. Public dog. What about this one?
No.
Pretty.
Not sure.
It looks like a method.
Method? Yeah, it looks like a method.
Well, let's think, what is it doing? Let's talk about what it's doing.
It's creating a new scanner.
And so it is constructing a new scanner. So it is a constructor.
Yeah.
Now, let's add some stuff to the left side of the scanner, right? New scanner, we all know what that is. That's how you get input and output. So let's add this. Let's go private scanner object, my scanner equals new scanner. What is this? We know the right side is a constructor, but all together, what would this be? What would we assume this is?
A variable.
Property.
Yeah, this is. It's a class variable and a property. It's 100% correct. You would be able to use the class.myScanner in order to use the scanner object that you created inside of this class. So this is 100% a property and something that we can use. Now, what about this one?
It's a method.
Yeah, this is a method. This prints out hello. So we've got a method, right? So far we're doing really, really good. We're going to talk a little bit about properties. we've got a class dog, right? Now, what are class variables? They are also properties. So we create the class dog, we put properties at the top, we put constructors underneath that, and then we put methods underneath that. That's kind of how a class is built. So we're going to create a class variable called my dog's name, right? And we're going to call that private string my dog's name. Now the next step is let's go ahead and create a new class variable for the dog's age called my dog's age. And we'll do that with a private int, which is primitive, my dog's age. So now let's review what static is. Do we remember what static is?
Is it when the information's not going to change? Like,
Fixed information.
In medicine,
Yeah.
static means it neither gets better nor gets worse, but in general, static means does not change.
Correct. So the
Not
static
increasing, not
variable,
decreasing.
we have public static string taxonomy equals canis, right? And then public means it can be accessed from outside of the dog class. Following so far?
yes.
Okay. So static is a type of property in which it is attached to dog. So if we were to go dog taxonomy, every of that dog would have that. It is connected to dog. Make sense? The class itself has this property, while the other properties have to be created. So this is a default property, basically, that every version of this class, every instance of this class will have it. Now, we were using, a lot of people took static as it means it doesn't change. In Java, what we use for that is final. So if you stick final there, it means it can't be changed. So static means it exists for everything. It is there for all instances, while final means that property cannot be modified.
Is that like Java's version of const?
We're getting to that. We're getting to
Okay.
constants in a little bit.
Okay.
There are no constants in Java, but we can create things like consts, which
Okay.
static final is one of the ways to do it. So like there is no constant in Java really.
Okay.
Okay, so if we wanted the my dog's name to be final, right, we would have to set it to private final string my dog's name equals start. So what we would have to do is we would have to give it a variable when we initialize it inside the class. So we would have to give it that variable when we initialize it inside the class. Now, the difference here is when it's private, we would only be able to access it with inside the class. So it really wouldn't be that helpful here, but it's totally something we can do. So we have private final string, my dog's name, public dog string, dog's name. We can go this dot my dog's name equals dog's name. And final variables can only be assigned to once. Following so far.
Hey, there's a question in chat, Bree.
Oh, thanks for reminding me. I'm terrible at checking on these. Let's see. Oh, there's a lot of. Oh, that's the wrong deck. Yeah, that's a good way to explain it. It's not just that static is default, it's that static exists for all instances. So it's not that it's necessarily default as much as it's an existing property of all instances. And final, yes, is unchanging. We can't reassign final variables. Okay, can methods and classes be set to final? Oh, I didn't mean to go forward, my bad. Do we think they can be set to final?
Yes.
Does someone want to tell me why they think they can be set to variable? Lucy, can you clarify what you mean by that question? Can you change a static variable for just one instance of an object?
So if I've got a dog class and it has a static variable, let's say has tail true, and I happen to create a dog class or an instance of a dog, and that dog for some reason doesn't have a tail, could I on that one dog change the tail boolean to false without changing all the others?
As long as you did not put final there, that is totally fine.
Okay, that's what I want to know.
Yeah.
I thought static variables were from the class, not from an instance of the class.
They are, but you can still override it. There are still ways for it to be done.
Okay.
Because like if we're thinking that way, right? And all dogs have tails, right? But there are the few dogs that don't have tails. So we could theoretically override that property to not. So if we create the instance of the dog no tail dot tail would be true, and we could set that to false. We could change that property. Okay, can methods and classes be set to final? Yes, yes they can. But we really don't need to worry about that. That's not necessarily super important. So we're just going to move forward and do some double checking. Static class variables are private, yes or no? Oh, wait, what am I doing here? I'm so sorry. It has been a very, very long day. For those that don't know, I just got back from Vegas at 7 a.m. this morning. So if I seem a little confused, that is why. Okay, so static class variable properties are private. Is not something that is true, right? That's just not how they work. Final variables, can they be assigned from the constructor? Yes or no?
No?
Yeah.
Yes, yes they can. You can only use final on non-static variables. Yes or no?
No.
Oh,
That's correct. No, that is not true. That is a false statement. Classes can have multiple constructors. True or false?
True.
True.
It's very true. Okay. The double equals does not compare values.
false.
That's false.
That is true in Java. Double equals does not compare values.
Have to do the dot equals, right?
Yep, dot equals is correct. I'm not sure who said that, but yeah, dot equals is what we want to use in Java.
Is this the one where it goes to, it compares like the space or something?
Yeah, it does something weird that we don't really need to concern ourselves with, but just know it will not work. Double equals will not do what you want it to do. You will think your program is listening when it is not. I mean, I guess it is listening, but it's not listening to your logic. Okay. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know what this slide is about. I had to borrow Kyle's slide, and I cannot tell you what this slide is about at all. So I'm gonna move forward. Unless Kyle knows what this slide is about.
He uses them as breaks in between.
So I can take a breath and take a drink of water or coffee.
Yeah, go ahead and take a break then. Absolutely go do that. We can do that real quick. Take like 5 minutes. and go do a break.
42 Wallaby Way, Sydney.
Takes the red pill.
Yeah,
and
I say
the
Wallaby Way,
address.
Sydney. Yeah.
Wallaby Way, Sydney.
Just keep
Okay.
swimming. Just keep swimming.
Pete Sherman, 42 Wallaby Way, Sydney. I watched that
Yeah.
with my kids last night.
Okay. Go ahead and take 5 minutes then. And we will go, because I go pretty fast. I think I talk a little faster than Kyle. So we're probably
You just
great
got back
on
from
time.
Vegas. It's okay.
Yeah. So we will meet back at 44 or at 54.
Got some pizza up here, bud.
While we wait, if anyone has any questions or wants to share anything, you are more than welcome to. Kyle's probably more entertaining on these little breaks. I'm not much for little breaks, but y'all are used to them. Go ahead and take them. They can always be helpful.
Kyle doesn't take 5 minutes, Bree. He just will go through a couple of humorous lines, tell people to relax and keep on going.
I talk fast. We are, I know for a fact I am moving faster than Kyle would be moving.
Yes.
Okay, okay, everyone. So we should be back now. So we're gonna move forward and hopefully not go super fast, but I probably will. Okay, so we are moving forward. Now we've been talking about methods and properties. There are some methods that are just more important than other methods. It's just the way they are. These methods need to exist. TwoString needs to exist so that we can change things to a string. That's what it does. So for example, if we have this integer my int class equals 5, we want to change it to a string, we can't just typecast it. We need to use this method TwoString in order to print out 5. Right? And then we would do the same here. Or we would not do the same here. I don't know why I just said that. This would not work because this is a primitive integer. So you don't use the TwoString on primitives. I don't listen to me on that one. You do not use TwoString on primitive data types, right? You use TwoStrings on non-primitive data types. So any object-based data type, you need to use TwoString to convert it to a string. This is going to be very, very useful in more complex data and information, because when you have a class that has 6, 7, 8 properties, there will be a way in which you print all of the information in a string the way that you want it to print. And you'll use that information to translate to other classes and properties. Any questions? Okay, moving forward. So we have dog, new dog, start 5, right? So we give it a string, we give it a integer. Then we're going to print my dog to string, right? It's going to do something really weird. What do we think it's going to do?
I think it's going to print it to a string. It just may not look like how we want it to.
Yeah, it's going to print something like this. Like just something super, super weird. That's totally not useful. None of that data is informative. That's what it does, right? And that is because it's printing the memory address, and the memory address is not helpful for us. At some point, depending on what kind of development you get to, it might be helpful, but this is not helpful. I see no need in your immediate future as a developer where you need to know the memory address. And that's just not useful. But there are ways to fix this. So we're going to change this by assuming those class variables are declared at the top. We're going to create a method, right? And we're going to use this neat little trick called @override. And what this does is this changes the behavior for my dog class, right? This is going, we don't like the previous behavior, so we're making new behavior. So then what would we want to put inside public string TwoString? Instead of me just showing y'all, why don't we guess? How would we want to print that?
Name, Stark, age, whatever it was, or
Okay, so one of the things that we want to do is know that this is a function, right? So it's a TwoString method, so it needs to return something. So the first part would be return string and then name. So one of the best ways to do this would be return my dog's name is concatenate this dot my dog's name. So any .TwoString method is a method, so it will need a return to actually print something. Questions, concerns, comments, lamentations?
Can we see how like you use override, I guess?
What do you mean? So if I was to not use override and we did that line, right? My dog TwoString, it would print bracket DOG at 9234428. Not exactly like that, but something similar, okay? That does not tell us anything about the class my dog, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
I think she was asking if you could show us an example in like IntelliJ.
Maybe. I haven't been to my computer in 3 weeks, so give me a second. Give me 1 second.
Were you in Vegas for 3 weeks, Bree?
I was in Seattle, Louisiana, and Vegas.
Dang. Just traveling all over the place.
Yeah, doing lots of work. I do a lot of events for Magic the Gathering and other card games and board games,
That's
so I'm on the road a
cool.
lot.
That's super cool.
Okay, but like Innistrad though.
I have no idea what's going on with that. I've been doing Flesh and Blood stuff, and I have to go to Gen Con this weekend, and I have no idea what's going on. I'm so behind on things. All I do is run events as a tournament organizer and a judge. So let's see. Nope. So I'm just going to use this example. So give me a minute. Give me 1 second, just building this for y'all. And then we will go through it and make it super easy for y'all to check it out. Okay, let's see if I can change. Oh, this thing's gigantic. Do we see this?
Yes, we see it.
Yes.
Is that big enough or do I need to make it bigger? Let's see. How do we make text bigger?
You can make it a little bit.
Yeah, bigger please.
Okay, let's see if I remember how to make it bigger. That's a good question.
I mean, it's not terrible. So if you can't make it bigger, it's probably okay.
There's definitely a way to do it. I just don't know.
Minimizing the size of the window will make everything look bigger. Or Control Plus will increase just the font size.
Control Plus is doing folding. See, it's folding expand. It's not doing it. We can try that fold plus. I don't even know what folding expand is. Is that better for y'all or worse? I don't think that makes any difference. Okay, so anyways, let's just go ahead and run this. Alrighty, so we see that it prints dog.package dog at 5F184, right? Exactly what we gave it. That's the TwoString method. So if we come over to dog, yeah, I don't even know. That's whatever. Okay, and then we come in here and we're gonna go at override. Okay, so now we have this dot string method, right?
Oh, you had to use at override because it's in the separate class from the main class. Okay.
No, because that our method already exists. Every class has this method.
So you're hiding the original one momentarily.
Correct. We're overriding it. Well, it's not temporarily, it's at all times. It's going to print like that. We will never get the memory address again. The class no longer has access to the old TwoString method. We have overridden.
So I need to make very certain that I don't need elsewhere the original.
You don't. You don't.
It's only though for this class.
Yeah, it's only for this class. So if we make a new class dog, sure. But the chances that you're going to need the memory address in the near future, and by that I mean at least the first year, is pretty low. I with confidence say I do not believe that there would be a reason to not override your TwoString method.
In doing this, can you use TwoString though?
The original one?
No, you cannot.
Not in the dog class, but if we created another cat class.
Yes, then that TwoString would work. But once again, we do not need that method. Okay, gonna drag this out of the way. And we'll move forward because now we have to talk about the same thing with dot equals, right? So we know we had to override the TwoString method. Well, we are also going to have to do the same thing with equals because this integer my int class 5 prints out true, right? My printed event 5 equals 5 does not work because this is a primitive details. Now, what we want to know about the new equals, we make dog, my dog, same dog. Does my dog equal my same dog? What's the correct answer?
No.
No.
Should it equal should they equal each other?
Yes.
They have different memory addresses, so no.
Well, they should equal each other though, is what I'm saying. Like when we're using the dot equals, we want them to equal one another. You are correct that it will print out false. But the purpose is we want them to equal one another, which is why we're going to have to change the equals. Oh, I went too fast. Okay, so we'll assume that those class variables are defined at the top again, and now we're going to override with a public Boolean equals object, right? So we'll have to create a brand new method. And we're going to go into this. What is the object class, right? This is just a general data type that anything can be. We know about the integer type. We know about the string type. An object type is just the most basic general data type that something can be. An example of something very general would be mammal, right? And then with the object, you can lead into dog, integer, scanner. Following so far? Okay, so back to the dot equals. If object equals dot dot this, return true. Now, is object and the dog instance in the same memory location? That's what we're checking here. So the first thing that we check in our dot equals is, are they in the same memory location? Because if they are in the same memory location, oh, it went too fast, then therefore they are the same object. So we no longer need to progress forward in our equals method. So that is your first part of your equals. Are they in the same memory? If object is not an instance of a dog, return false. So if we go my dog dot equals and then we put cat name, well, those aren't even the same instance type, so therefore they're not equal at all. So we want to return false. So object dog, not, so that's a flag, is object an instance of dog. That is equivalent to saying object instance of dog is comparable to false. Blah, blah, blah. So we would cast that now. So now the next step, and we go dog equals dog object. So we make the new dog, and we set it to the current object, casting it to make sure that it is a dog type. Now, then we go if dog dot my dog's name dot equals this, which is here. So we go this is equal to here. My dog's name return true. I know, is that a lot of information, right? And you're like, how the hell am I ever going to remember this? So we're going to go over it again. So the first thing, we check the memory address. What does this do?
It eliminates objects that aren't even dogs.
Yep, checks types of object. That's correct. What does this line do?
Casting.
Yep, it
Casting.
casts the object to a dog instance to make sure we know it is an instance of a dog. We know the type is dog, so now we cast it to a dog instance.
Oh.
So what would happen if we don't cast it to a dog instance?
Well, then it's not going to be able to be compared right, probably. It just would not. So by casting it, that makes sure we're working in the same realm of things. That would be like if I'm trying to cook an egg and I'm trying to fry an egg, right? And I want to make 2 fried eggs the same way. And I go and I put 1 fried egg into a pan, but then I crack an egg into a pan of boiling water. Those fried eggs are not going to be the same. Right?
Yeah. I mean, that analogy makes sense. I was just
so even though they're both eggs, excuse me 1 sec.
Sure.
Okay, so we know that it's that type, that it is a dog, but we want to make sure that it fits within the same categories and everything. We want to make sure we're working with the class of dog that we created and that it's the same instance of a class, right? So we know the object itself is an instance of dog. So now we want to cast it to a dog. So that way we have dog. So we're creating this new instance equal to the old instance. And now we're comparing dog to this dot my dog's name. Does that make sense?
I assumed that if it was already a dog instance, so where you have the exclamation point, it checks type of object. I assumed that if that passes, then we know it's already a dog instance, but maybe it's not already a dog instance?
But it won't always. So it is an instance of a dog, but when we're casting it to the dog, right? What we're doing is we are taking the object that we know and making sure that it has all the properties of the class dog.
Okay.
Because it could have been an instance of it, but not had all the properties.
Oh, Oh, I didn't know that was
There
possible.
are nuances. It's just like, as I said, if I'm cracking an egg and you tell me to fry an egg, and both of us are supposed to fry an egg the same way, and I present a fried egg in a pot of boiling water, and you present a fried egg from a pan, they can look pretty damn similar, right? Like, one's a fried egg, mine's a fried egg, but one of us cooked it in a pot of boiling water while the other cooked it in a skillet.
Huh. I didn't know that needed to be checked. Okay.
They would not be equal in that sense. Okay, so now we would check if names are equal, because that's what we're determined that if they make them the same, then otherwise return false. Okay, so that is a lot to do. So let's go over some shortcuts. And maybe y'all already learned this. I don't know. But I don't want to have to remember all of that equal stuff, right? So we're going to go here to generate, alt insert. We're going to go equals and hash code. You're going to click next. Or, yeah, we're going to click next. And then you're going to select the fields that we want. In this situation, we only want name. That's all we're checking, right? So then we'll click next. We'll check it. The hash code is something that has to exist for the most part, it just needs to exist. It's not really important why it needs to exist right now. We will get into more detail later. Everything with an custom equals needs a custom hash code. It's just the way it is. And then you'll click next. Select all non-null fields. We don't want this to be null, so we're going to click finish. And this creates it for us. And now I don't have to remember all of that. Okay, next
That
step.
sounds good.
Do you remember getters and setters?
Yep.
If we go generate getters and setters, hold control, select both of those, click OK, it generates our getters and setters. Any questions? You can just type stop and press enter. That is correct. Yes, I can. Okay. Alt insert. Getters and setters. Okay. That gave just get my dog's name. So that was just my dog's name. So now we're going to go getters and setters, and we're going to do my dog's age. There we go. Any questions, concerns, limitations, comments? Would anyone like another explanation by maybe another TF or Kyle of this if they're still confused? Because other than that, the lecture's over.
What was the situation where you would use this override for the Boolean?
You should always use the override for equals in TwoString, in my opinion. I guess there's occasionally you wouldn't when you're trying to compare memory addresses, but for the most part, I don't believe as a web dev that you're going to be comparing memory address.
Okay.
If you're doing like more database development, you possibly could. But as a web developer, you should not be comparing memory addresses. It just doesn't help anything. Yeah, I can share that file. If I can find it. Does anyone have any questions at all? Everyone's good, no one's confused.
As long until Jake can for us, then I don't need to understand how every single bit works now. I can research that as I build my skills.
I would totally agree with that, Mark. I can tell you the first time I did that, I didn't even bother learning what it did. I just knew that I needed it.
Okay.
Okay, well, if you ever have questions, Andrew, you can reach out to me or Kyle. I also have office hours that can be scheduled for Calendly. So if anyone wants office hours later in the evening during the week, you can always schedule time with me as well, and we can go over things and do a little bit more live coding. So other than that, I'm gonna give it back to Kyle in case Kyle has anything to share. But if Kyle doesn't have anything to share, then we're just going to move on to small group.
Well, I actually do. I have one thing before everyone heads out for this class. So just want to let everyone know that Greg reached out to me. The Canvas schedule is wrong for Thursday. If you've looked recently, we do have class. So make sure you are here on Thursday for class. We will be having lecture. But other than that, that's all I have for that small announcement. And yeah, that's that on my end.
So for for Thursday's class, is that Monday's material? Next, material listed for next Monday?
It will be unit testing. So if that's, as long as that's what's on the calendar for next Monday, then there will be the material for this Thursday. Yeah. So next up,
Okay.
yeah, is unit testing.
Okay.
Awesome. All right. Thank you very much, Bree, for guest lecturing today. Awesome. And coming back from Vegas after that, I know you're exhausted, but thank you very much for going through all the object stuff. So that's it on my end. Thanks, everybody. And feel free to go to your small groups. Have a great rest of your week. I'll see you all on Thursday.
Thanks, Bree.
Thanks, Bree.
Thanks, Bree.